I know it's not the intention of anybody who's writing stories about this or anything, but it seems that whenever we write about the limit, the highest it could be, that becomes the number. I want to emphasize that this is going to be a different number in every district. It's not $4,500 is not the amount of the scholarship throughout the state. And I know that's going to get repeated over and over, but at least since I get the first shot at explaining this, I want to explain that. So in many districts, it's going to be an amount of money that probably no one will be able to take advantage of. In many districts it will, but in those districts where that per pupil amount is higher, and there are some where it's $7,000 or $8,000 per pupil, that amount is going to have the absolute limitation of $4,500. Again, you can go to districts in whatever communities you are, and these numbers are available to you. You can plug them in, and superintendents can do that. So again, and I mentioned this already, the local school district, which was not true under the original bill, and that was for a variety of reasons, but they're going to keep these excess funds. So when you see a school district or someone say, look, it's going to be $5,700 times every student who leaves the district, that's not going to be true under the way we want to change this program. The third change, and this I think is a significant change also, is that the number of scholarships would be limited to 1% of the district's enrollment. And some folks who, on one side, I get people on both sides of the aisle suggesting the best way that this program should be run. Some folks didn't like that, thought it was too restrictive. It was really my belief in the planning of this that probably that would be about the participation rate. And what do we base that on? Well, in the Milwaukee Voucher program and some of the other programs, that's about what the participation rate is. And even with Ed Choice, where we have children who supposedly are leaving what are at least termed schools that are failing, only about 5% of the kids participate in that. More than anything, we wanted to assure school districts that there wasn't going to be a mass of people leaving all at once from their district. I think I had somebody tell me that one local superintendent was telling folks that he thought 80% of the students would leave in the first year. And I thought, well, that's just not going to happen. I mean, people don't make decisions that way. And, I had some local folks, they were talking about, we have one of our local school districts ranked in the top 100 or so in the graduation test, and we've got one of them ranked fairly near the bottom of the list, yet we've got probably 35 kids open enrolling from that high, at least highly ranked district to the lower ranked district. Again, people make these decisions for a variety of reasons, but in this situation, or with this restriction, school districts can know that they're not going to have half their kids leaving or 20% of their kids leaving all at once. Now, is it restrictive? Yeah, but I think it still gives a lot of kids an opportunity who weren't going to have an opportunity before in a variety of districts. What that means is if you've got a district that has 4,166 kids in it, that means that there are going to be 41 PAC scholarships available in that district in the first year that was created. What happens if all the, anticipating this question, what happens if all of the scholarships are taken? Well, then they're all taken. The point is that I don't think in the first year that will happen because people don't make plans that quickly. And we'll see whether, the program benefits folks and how well it benefits them. And so, also, of course, there are going to be a lot of districts where a program like this wasn't available to them before. So there'll be some people who really are going to benefit from this throughout the state. But I think it sort of eliminates the doomsday scenario that was painted, I think, by the report that was recently came out here about 2 weeks ago, and by some other folks. Which I would say, by the way, I mean, a lot of folks hire people to do reports, and they hire people who maybe aren't credible and are going to give you whatever answer you want. I think the organization that did the report, and I can't remember who it was right now, that's a credible organization, and I think the conclusions they came to were valid, with this caveat. They made a number of assumptions, sort of worst case scenario assumptions, in order to get to the final product. This process, or these changes, which we've been working on for about 3 or 4 months now, really defines the upper boundaries of what this would be about. We've had a lot of discussion about income and what's the appropriate income for this process. And one of the things we did is we thought, well, we're going to put an absolute upper limit on this of $95,000. And what became the talking point and reported, I think, throughout the state was, if you make $95,000, you get a scholarship. And there was actually a step down and all of that. And you know, it's pretty difficult to explain all of that in a radio interview or even in a newspaper article, how detailed. I mean, the details of this. What we decided to do is simply tie the income eligibility to the Medicaid S-chip, which, for those non-policy wonks, is the state children's health insurance program. This was and essentially the reason we did that is this is established policy. It's an income eligibility system, which is an established policy in the state of Ohio. And that is, I heard somebody mention this before, that is 300% of poverty. And those poverty guidelines change throughout. And of course, the federal poverty guidelines are established by the federal government. And the S-chip program is a program in the state of Ohio. And so what we simply decided, I guess the conclusion is, if your income allows you to be eligible for the children's health program, insurance program, then that's an appropriate income guideline for the parental choice and taxpayer savings scholarship. And this wouldn't be a situation where each year we would be coming in and trying to change the income guidelines and we ought to bump it up 10% or down 5%. We'd simply allow that to be determined based on the S-chip program. And then finally, this might be old news to some of you, we're going to eliminate the educational savings account provision, which I will say this, that the point of this was to keep, one of the things that happened with the Ed Choice program 5 or 6 years ago, when they set the amount of the voucher program, especially at the K through 8 level, is in some cases, not all, but in some cases, the amount of the tuition went up to the amount of the voucher, up to the amount of the scholarship. And that happens anytime the government sets a price for something that's above the market price, the market raises. And this was really an attempt to keep the market forces in it so that folks would have some skin in the game about what private school they would go to. But it morphed from educational savings account into people are taking money to go to college. And that really wasn't the intent, and I think it may be an idea that is only I think it's a good idea at this point, but unless we were actually applying it. So we're going to take that out of the program also. I think that's all I have, unless, and I'm sure there's some questions. So.